If that Second Amendment hadn't been there, those people would not have had the opportunity to do what they considered was defending their life. No government ever hasn't had to fight its own people, and its own people hasn't had to fight its own government. Mine happens to be that I think there's a very strong reason Founding Fathers had for the Second Amendment.
Ever wonder why Kurt Russell's not playing nice with Hollywood's woke crowd? The guy's been around forever, but now he's suddenly public enemy #1. What's got everyone so riled up? Turns out Kurt's been saying some stuff that's got the PC police losing their minds. He's talking guns, freedom, and how Hollywood's living in la-la land, and boy are people mad. But Kurt, he couldn't care less. So what's got Kurt Russell butting heads with Hollywood's woke brigade? Well, it all started when he decided to speak his mind about gun control and political correctness. And let me tell you, he didn't hold back.
Put some controls. What? So the people who want to defend themselves can't? Do you really believe they're not going to? Are you serious about that? Are you seriously? What good will that? Oh my God, you and I just disagree.
Kurt's been in the game for decades, but he's not your typical Hollywood star. While most celebs are tripping over themselves to show how woke they are, Russell's taking a different path. He's calling out what he sees as the industry's disconnect from reality, and it's ruffling some serious feathers. Take his stance on gun control. While many in Tinseltown are pushing for stricter laws, Kurt's not having it. He's a firm believer in the Second Amendment and isn't afraid to say so. In one interview, he flat out said, "If you think gun control is going to change the terrorists' point of view, I think you're like out of your mind."
We've lived with guns since, what, the 7th century or something? I don't know.
We all know that right now, guns is a trope. It's a
If you think gun control or something like that is going to change a terrorist point of view, I think you're like out of your mind.
Boom. No sugarcoating, just straight talk. But it's not just about guns. Kurt's got a problem with how Hollywood handles pretty much everything these days. He's sick of the virtue signaling and the constant need to be politically correct. In his words, this is a business that's heavily promulgated by people who have a politically correct stance. I don't begrudge them that. I'm just not a very political person, and I'm not a fool. And don't even get him started on the whole fantasy land mentality. Kurt thinks Hollywood's lost touch with regular folks. He's called out the industry for living in a bubble, saying Hollywood is living in its own weird little world. He's not wrong, is he? When was the last time you saw a movie that actually reflected real life? So how's Hollywood reacting to this rebel in their midst? Let's just say they're not rolling out the red carpet. Kurt's comments have caused quite a stir, with some industry bigwigs calling him out of touch or worse. But here's the kicker. Kurt couldn't care less. He's made it clear that he's not in this business to make friends or please everyone. I've always been someone who felt we are court jesters. That's what we do, he said. In other words, he's here to entertain, not to preach or push an agenda. And you know what? That's pretty refreshing in today's climate. While everyone else is scrambling to say the right thing, Kurt's just being Kurt. Love him or hate him, you've got to respect his honesty. Ever wonder why a big shot like Kurt Russell would risk his career over some political opinions? Well, turns out he's got a pretty wild theory about governments and their people. And let me tell you, it's got nothing to do with movie scripts or red carpets. This is real life stuff that's got Hollywood shaking in their designer boots. Kurt's not just talking about gun rights, he's going full-on Founding Fathers mode. He's all about that Second Amendment life, and he's not afraid to tell you why. According to Russell, it's not just about hunting or sport shooting. Nah, it's way bigger than that. He's convinced that the Second Amendment is the only thing standing between us and total government control.
If that Second Amendment hadn't been there, those people would not have had the opportunity to do what they considered was defending their life. No government ever hasn't had to fight its own people, and its own people hasn't had to fight its own government. Mine happens to be that I think there's a very strong reason Founding Fathers had for the Second Amendment.
Now, most of Hollywood's elite are busy pushing for stricter gun laws, painting gun owners as the bad guys. But Kurt, he's not buying it. He's out here dropping truth bombs like, the mere existence of the Second Amendment drawn up by America's forefather is exactly what gives people the right and power to defend themselves. Boom. Take that, gun control advocates. But here's where it gets really spicy. Russell's got this crazy idea that governments and their people are always on the brink of fighting each other. He straight up said, I think there's a very strong reason Founding Fathers had for the Second Amendment, and that is that no government ever hasn't had to fight its own people, and its own people hasn't had to fight its own government. Wild, right? But when you think about it, maybe he's onto something. And don't even get him started on those gun control laws.
If that Second Amendment hadn't been there, those people would not have had the opportunity to do what they considered was defending their life. You get what you feel is slightly ambushed by somebody who's really got an agenda, and that's sort of, I think, that's my opinion of what happened to me the other day.
Kurt thinks they're about as useful as a screen door on a submarine. He's arguing that these laws just leave the good guys defenseless. In his words, the people who want to defend themselves can't. Innocent people who want to defend themselves from trigger-happy idiots can't, and that makes no sense or is even fair at all. Hard to argue with that logic, isn't it? But here's the kicker, the thing that's got Hollywood losing their collective minds. Kurt's not just talking about guns, he's talking about freedom, personal responsibility, and standing up to big government. He's basically waving the libertarian flag in the face of all those champagne socialists in Tinseltown. And you know what? He doesn't give a damn what anyone thinks. While other celebs are busy backpedaling and apologizing for every little thing, Kurt's doubling down. He's not here to make friends or win popularity contests. He's here to speak his mind, consequences be damned. But hold on to your popcorn, folks, because if you think Kurt's hot takes on guns and government are controversial, just wait till you hear what he's got to say about Hollywood's woke culture.
Movie, doing a television show, that's fantasy land. And that's where that stuff belongs. The last thing I like to watch is entertainers or actors get political.
Trust me, you're gonna want to stick around for this. Alright, so Kurt Russell thinks the government's out to get us, but that's nothing compared to what he thinks about Hollywood's woke culture. He's saying it's destroying our freedom. Now, that's a pretty big claim, but what if he's right? What if the very people preaching tolerance are the ones suffocating free speech? Kurt's not pulling any punches when it comes to calling out his fellow celebs. He's taking aim at the heart of Hollywood, and he's not afraid to ruffle some feathers. According to Kurt, the woke left in Tinseltown is living in a fantasy world, completely disconnected from reality, and he's got some choice words for them. You know how Hollywood likes to pat itself on the back for being so progressive and inclusive? Well, Kurt's calling BS on all of that. He's saying that this whole woke culture thing is just a big act. In fact, he goes as far as to say, to survive in W culture, you have to become a liar. Ouch, that's gotta sting for all those virtue signaling celebs out there. But Kurt's not just talking about the phoniness of it all. He's saying this woke culture is actually dangerous. He believes it's eroding our freedoms, especially when it comes to things like marriage rights. Kurt's asking why certain groups should get special treatment just because they align with the woke agenda. It's a fair question, isn't it? And let's talk about the elephant in the room, gun culture in Hollywood.
No-fly list because of terrorist connections can get a gun pretty easily.
They can also make a bomb pretty easily.
Yeah.
So what? They can also get knives and stab you. What are you going to do about that? They can get cars and run you over with them. What are you going to do about that?
Kurt's got some thoughts on that too. He's calling out the hypocrisy of an industry that glorifies gun violence in movies but then turns around and preaches gun control in real life. He's saying the media's narrative on gun ownership is way off base and doesn't reflect reality. Now, you might be wondering how other celebrities are reacting to Kurt's no-holds-barred approach. Well, let's just say he's not winning any popularity contests in Hollywood right now, but here's the kicker. Kurt couldn't care less. While other stars are busy backpedaling and apologizing for every little thing, Kurt's standing his ground. He's refusing to back down from his criticisms, even if it means going against the entire Hollywood establishment. There are even rumors floating around that he cut ties with Disney because of their woke agenda. Whether that's true or not, it just goes to show how serious Kurt is about his principles. You know how they say there's no such thing as bad publicity? Well, Kurt Russell might be putting that to the test. He's got Hollywood execs foaming at the mouth, and industry insiders are placing bets on his career. But here's the kicker. What if all this outrage is exactly what Kurt wanted? Hollywood's not taking Kurt's rebellious streak lying down. The backlash has been swift and brutal.
My beef, I'm a libertarian, so my beef with advantages given to anybody because they happen to live together and have a ring. Well, I think there's an issue that people aren't talking about with gay marriage. There's a lot of things that they beat around the bush with.
Industry bigwigs are calling him everything from out of touch to a liability. It's like they can't decide if he's a dinosaur who doesn't get how things work anymore, or a loose cannon who needs to be stopped. But here's where it gets interesting. While some are saying Kurt's career is toast, others are whispering that he might come out of this stronger than ever. It's like the whole industry's split right down the middle. One insider told me, Russell's views are creating a real divide. Some see him as a pariah, others as a breath of fresh air in an industry that's become too politically correct. Now, let's talk about these rumors flying around. Word on the street is that Kurt's cutting ties with some major studios. The big one? Disney. Yeah, you heard that right. Apparently on August 4th, 2024, Kurt decided he'd had enough of the Mouse House's woke agenda. He reportedly said he was sick and tired of the woke culture and felt he'd wasted his career with the company. That's a pretty big bomb to drop, especially considering how long he's been in the game. But is this the end for Kurt Russell? Some industry folks seem to think so. One producer who wanted to stay anonymous, shocker, said Russell's strong libertarian views and his refusal to play ball with Hollywood's political correctness could seriously jeopardize his future projects. It's creating a rift between him and his more progressive colleagues. Yet despite all this drama, Kurt's not backing down. He's standing firm, doubling down on his views, and basically telling Hollywood to take it or leave it. It's like he's playing chicken with the entire industry, and neither side's showing signs of swerving. So, what's next for Hollywood's most outspoken rebel? Will he be blacklisted, or will he become a symbol for free speech in an industry that some say has lost its way? One thing's for sure, Kurt Russell's not going quietly into the night. He's ready to take on the whole woke machine, and he doesn't seem to care who he pisses off in the process.